Hello, Mallards. It's Monday, and this evening I watched Fear Street 1994, which is the first of the three Fear Street films that, essentially make up a mini series. Uh, this is fascinating for me because, despite the fact that I'm not really a horror movie person, I've gotten more into them recently, but previously would have not considered myself a horror movie person at all. I did love R.L. Stine books as a youngin'. I read all of the Goosebumps books, and I also read the Fear Street books. So when I saw that they were turning Fear Street into a miniseries, I was like, that's interesting. Also weird that it's a miniseries because I feel like those books weren't really connected to each other, but maybe there's something that I'm forgetting. There wasn't anything that I'm forgetting. Fear Street was very similar to Goosebumps in that each story was like a different sort of mystery or thing happening, and they mostly featured different characters, although a few of the characters resurfaced, but they did all take place in the same town. So they had that going for them. And they also, part of the lore of Fear Street is that Fear Street is an actual street in this town, but it's named after the people who founded the town, whose name was Fear, like F-I-E-R, and they changed their name to F-E-A-R because of some sort of curse. I can't exactly remember, but basically what I remember is the Fear family was cursed because they accused a woman whose last name was Good of being a witch, and then she was burned, and then somehow that rebounded a curse on the family. And that little origin of what makes Fear Street appears to be what they're playing with in this show, which I'm totally about. They did flip, at least I'm assuming they've flipped the roles, because in the books it is definitely Good, like a woman whose last name is Goode, who gets burned as a witch, and she's accused by the Fear family, or Fire, F-I-E-R family. But in the show, the witch's last name is F-I-E-R, and judging from the little advertisements for the Good family that are around the town, I would say that it's pretty obvious that they must be the group at fault for the woman's death. And now she has enacted a curse on the town. She cut off her hand and she left her hand so that it has a grip over the town, and she can possess people and turn them into murderers. Which is a fun story. I'm not against what they've done. It's just interesting to me, what moment they chose from the Fear Street books to be like, yes, this. We want this to be our story. And so this first film takes place in 1994. It follows a group of teenagers dealing with the witch's curse and some people going crazy and murdering each other. So it's definitely darker. Goosebumps is scary, but Goosebumps isn't usually very graphic violence, and most of the murders, if people get killed, happen sort of off screen in different ways. You might stumble across a dead body, but nothing's too gruesome. And in this, it's gruesome. I mean, it's maybe not quite as gruesome as Freaky, but pretty close. They do send a girl through a meat chopper at a grocery store, and whoo, man, ugh, that one was pretty gross, definitely gross. And it centers around these kids who are trying to get people to believe them that something supernatural is happening, and obviously no one believes them, because who would believe children? Apparently no one, which I don't understand. We should believe children, guys. If films have taught us anything, it's that we should believe children. And so they're fighting for themselves, trying to break the witch's curse, and it ends up with a lot higher body count than I was expecting. Like, we get into the groove where we've got our core group of people, and I was like, all right, so maybe they're going to figure this out and make it through this. And then we lost like 50% of them to the curse and the death. And the interesting thing about this is that in the film, it's set up that this happens in their town year after year after year. So, like, killers just appear because the witch's curse is always reoccurring. And it's been going on since 1666 when she was killed. And so you watch a little snippet of all of that happen, and we encounter some of the killers from the other decades in this particular episode, which I also think was interesting. And it's essentially that if she takes your blood, so a girl was bleeding and she touched the bones of the witch, and now the witch has essentially taken her because she got her blood. And they're trying to fight that the whole time. It also features our main characters, well, the main female character that we're following around, our point of view character, is gay, and she's in love with the girl who is ending up possessed by the witch. And in the end, Sam, the girl she's in love with, is attempting to kill her, and she's tied her up and wants to break the curse. So they go to find one of the only other survivors of one of these massacres to sort of figure stuff out. And that leads into the next section. So this one is 1994. The next one is 1978, where we heard about a massacre at a summer camp and sort of what happened there. And then the last Fear Street is 1666, which has to do with when the witch was killed. And so I think it'll be fun to sort of trace that back, but then also wrap it into the like 1994 that we have been watching to sort of see how all of that resolves. And I think that that's kind of fun. I did find it an interesting choice that one of the killers that they like brought back in this 1994 was the killer from 1978, despite the fact that they had mentioned other specific killers that they don't have a whole one of the miniseries episodes about. So I thought that perhaps the 1950s mailman would have been a better choice to be running around and stalking people than the 1978 campground killer, because I'm going to get a whole episode with a lot of him in it. But it may have been a conscious choice for some reason that we'll find out as we watch the other two. It was really fun. It is more like fun than cerebral, like a lot of the other horror that we've been watching. You don't want to think too hard about this one because some of the lore and the way that they've developed things is a little bit confusing, and you're unsure about what the rules are or why they've chosen to do things in a certain way. And so that bit is a little bit confusing if you think about it too hard, but if you just sit back and relax and enjoy, you will have a great time. I'm intrigued by the characters. I do want to know where this goes. I really want the lovely girls, like I want Sam to be saved so that our beautiful lesbian couple can live happily ever after. And I'm intrigued to see what we will learn about the lore as things start going back. And I also want to know if the Good family really is involved. And in the show in 1994, the sheriff, or I guess one of the police officers, his last name is Good. And he leaves a note at someone's door that says, "It's happening again." And we thought it was the door of our main character, but I don't think so now. So there's a little bit of intrigue there that might trace back to the last time it happened, which was 1978. So maybe with the camp, we'll learn a little bit about Mr. Good, the sheriff, and sort of grow things from there. I'm curious to see where it goes. I don't know when we're going to watch the other two, but I'm looking forward to it whenever it happens. And as for you guys, I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow.